Okay, here we have Neman, and Neman is a cool name. I actually looked it up, and it is the name of an Irish goddess. So it's a great name. It fits her perfectly. And Neman is a 3-year-old, 16 1.5 hand thoroughbred mare by More Spirit. And actually, More Spirit is the same sire as my 2026 RRP horse, Northern Cardinal. So that's kind of cool to have two of them in the same barn. And so she's 3, so obviously she's just very much a baby horse. She did have 7 starts though, so she certainly spent a little bit of time on the racetrack, had enough starts to show that she didn't really want to be a racehorse, but I always prefer it when they've had some starts because they're generally very well broke when they've had at least a handful of starts. And she is truly a 3-year-old. Her birthday was in January, so she actually is 3. She's not 2. And she's actually quite a big 3-year-old, I think. I mean, she sticks just a little bit under 16 2 hands in the spring of her 3-year-old year. So she's going, and she looks very growthy to me. So I suspect she still has quite a bit of growing to do. She certainly has a ton of filling out still to do. And she's actually beautifully put together. I thought her conformation pictures came out really nicely and really showed that off. She's a really nice moving mare. She's actually barefoot right now. She's been barefoot since just shortly after her last start, which was in mid-January. I think it was January 16th. So she's been barefoot for about the last 2 months. She's been hanging out at my friend Jody's farm, waiting for her turn to come. And so here she is. She came about a week ago. And actually, this is her second ride. Billy did her first ride for me on a day where I did a bunch of other rides and I was just kind of tired. And he said he didn't mind getting on first. So he put one ride on her first. And so this is her second ride. And it is my first ride on her. And obviously, the mare is really nice moving, makes the beautiful shape and all that stuff. The really pertinent thing about today's ride is just the unbelievable change in weather that we've had. The day before it was 60 degrees and kind of humid. And today I rode her first this morning. It was like 9 a.m. and the temperature was in the 20s and the wind is blowing like crazy. And that huge change in weather caused all sorts of thunderstorms and we had tornadoes all around us last night. There was one just like a mile away and we heard it at 10:30 at night. It was really horrifying. So anyway, just an unbelievable change in weather and she handled all that really well. No naughtiness, no wanting to be silly, just very professional workhorse type of thoroughbred mare, which is great. So the thing about her that I need to be super transparent about, I want to be super transparent about, is that she has some large ankles. And luckily, not luckily, but thanks to her connections, I have recent radiographs of them and I'm going to upload them to her Flickr album. So they're just out there if you want to look at her radiographs of both of her front fetlocks. They're in her Flickr album, which is linked to my website. So houndrunfarm.com, click on the horses for sale tab, and you'll find the rads in her Flickr album. Now, when you look at her ankles, and there's close-up pictures of her ankles in her Flickr album also, they're big. I mean, they're obviously bigger than normal. Interestingly, though, when you look at the films, they're actually not concerning at all. Actually, she has mild arthritic change in both. Very, very, very mild arthritic change in the right, almost not even notable. A little bit more in the left, but still, her racing connections vet looked at the films. I shared them with my vet who looked at the films, and they all said the same thing, which is just, obviously cosmetically right now they look large, but radiographically it's really not concerning. And she's extremely, extremely sound, obviously. So obviously, if you're going to take this horse, you're going to be a person that's okay with some cosmetic blemishes and you're not going to hang your hat on a radiograph. You're going to care more about overall soundness, which she is very sound. But it's just interesting how I've seen so many fetlock films and I've seen fetlocks that look really good cosmetically. And then you take the film and there's all kinds of changes happening in there that you just can't really tell just by looking at the ankle. Hers is totally the opposite. If this horse just showed up at my farm and no one had told me in advance, hey, she has a little bit of ugly ankles looking at her, I would be pretty horrified looking at her coming off the trailer. I would be thinking, oh my God, we've got to take films right now. And I'd be pretty worried about what was going to be in those films. But so interestingly, the films they're fine. I mean, there's nothing crazy going on, just a little bit of mild arthritic change, which is the phrase that my vet used, just mild arthritic change. So it's really just so interesting how it just doesn't match the way it looks on the outside and then the way it actually looks on the film aren't the same. So it's just It's just always so wild how appearances can be deceiving. And actually, my friend Jody, who's had her for the last 2 months, she's been turned out, full field turnout, 24/7 in a herd. So she's used to all that. She's been let down. She actually told me that the appearance of the ankles has quieted down since she's come off the track. So, because the films are really so mild, I would stand to think that actually they will continue to improve in appearance and that they will shrink down a bit more because judging by the way they look on the films, they really shouldn't look so big. So anyway, that's that. She's on the market extremely reasonably. I've got her on the market for $1,000 because this is just honestly a little bit of paying it forward work for me. I just really want to find this horse a really good home. I'm going to want to hear vet and farrier references for wherever she goes. It always makes me a little bit nervous selling horses in the low four-figure range, but I'm confident I can find this horse a great home, and that's my mission. And so if you do reach out to me about her, please be prepared to share some references and to talk to me about your experience with young horses, with breed horses, with thoroughbreds specifically, and all that kind of good stuff. So while I'm not going to market her as a horse that's going to be running around probably at the 4-star level, there's no reason why this horse isn't going to be a solid modified horse, or probably more, honestly. But of course, nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody can guarantee anything. So I would say she's going to be a very solid mid-level horse. She has a fantastic canter, lovely swing in the walk and the trot, soft in her mouth, makes a great shape. She has no vices. She's well mannered in the barn. She's just a talented young mare. And obviously, she is young and she is talented, so you're going to want to take it slow and patient with her, but certainly she's going to be a cool one to develop. It's interesting, when Billy rode her, he thought that she was easier to the left. When I rode her, I thought she was easier to the right. And so all of that is just sort of funny. And it just makes me think to myself, how much of this saying, oh, their easier direction is the left or the right, how much of that is really just honestly the rider's better direction is the left or the right? So I think she's pretty even both directions, left and right. And this is some really nice steps in the canter here for her. Her canter is fantastic. She's built super uphill. She has a great hind leg. She can really get underneath herself. She's certainly this morning was a little bit more up, and that's just totally unavoidable when you're bringing a 3-year-old out 12 hours after a tornado passed through and the weather, the temperatures dropped 30 or 40 degrees. So I actually thought that she handled all of that extremely well. And she's also a very cool color. I mean, she's a chestnut. I think I would describe her as a liver chestnut, and it's hard to see in the video, of course, and even in the pictures, it's probably a little hard to see, but she actually has some roaning throughout her whole coat. So to me, she looks like a liver chestnut with some roaning, which is definitely a little bit different than the average chestnugget that I get in. So here she is in the barn. She's very sweet, loves treats, loves human affection and interaction and all that good stuff. She loves water and being hosed off. She just wants to get into the hose. She loves it so much. And so I put this lilac, I think is the color you would call it, halter on her, and I actually think that is the perfect color for her. She looks so good in this sort of like soft purple color. I think she just looks absolutely adorable.